Uh, hey there. This is Edition 00, and I guess this would be kind of the part where I'm hiding under a table, maybe looking up sheepishly at anyone who might be watching this, and maybe possibly expecting Wakfu videos, cause, I'm kinda, sorta, maybe a lot late. Distractions with procrastination, which I guess is just another type of distraction, hospital visits, all this fun stuff, so let's see if I just finally can't get this Foggernaut going, and then do the rest of the classes, because I think I'm about done by the looks of it. So yeah, the Foggernaut. I didn't show the character creation the past few ones, because I thought I could shed off a couple unnecessary extra minutes off my freakishly long videos, but I'm just at this one because just want to show something in case those who don't know it, in case it's like not a glitch or anything. You can't go to female character switching if you go to the Foggernaut, because it doesn't exist as a female character, so it's just male robots only. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Now let's get onto my robot here. And forget to mute my phone, so that's a distraction. By the way, you didn't hear that. Well, actually, I mentioned it, so I probably shouldn't have said anything. Haha. Well, anyway, let's have a look at some of the things here, and I'll try to show it in this dummy room. At least the one part I think might be the most complicated to explain. So from what I can tell from the Foggernaut, it can be either extremely tanky and helpful to your allies, and I guess a little bit to yourself, but if you put skills a certain way, which you'll see later, it can be only for your allies. Or you can be like a fire death ray robot of, well, stasified death. So yeah, let's look at their elements. They have Earthline, which is their mostly defensive line where they can create barriers or barricades with their own health, which can kind of tank some hits for you or your allies depending if you put skill into it. And they have Fire, which is, you know, just very damagey. And some of them have a surprising range, which you will see in official fights. I'm still trying to figure out how to do this. I didn't do much rehearsal, you could probably tell. And they have their own specific element called Stasis. Stasis is much different because it kind of combines all of their elemental damage into a set percentage. So anytime you upgrade their elemental damages, it kind of adds to the total. So I think equipment that just gives you general damage might be the best bet, or you can mix and match your elements if you want. Or of course just Earth and Fire will add up to it, and maybe like a third element if you want, or if you can do it. And here it shows you your total stasis damage bonus right next to your little heart down there. So the little thing is that, of course, they sound very overpowered. I haven't seen them be overpowered, but then again, I haven't really made mine strong on purpose, and not that I could anyway. But I haven't really tried too much to make them strong on purpose. I've just done whatever to level things so I can hopefully explain things better, and just their base damage just does seem a bit high. So anyway, the thing with them is that most of their spells are in a line. The only thing that doesn't count for is Earth, but all of their stasis skills I think are in a line except for their final one, and all the fire skills are mostly in a line except for maybe one also. So yeah, they have a limited range for stuff like that. Anyway, actually explaining. Heart of Steam is your first stasis spell. It's very costly at 5 AP, but it's very high in damage. It also has a somewhat low range of up to 4 tiles. You also have a high level adding, or whatever it is, of stasifying your target, which is a special status effect they put onto their enemies as they hit them with their stasis spells. So once it stacks up, at the start of the turn, you have a 5% chance of stealing 1 Wakfu point, and also increases damage received by 10%, and bonus is doubled if target has matching resistances. So it can be pretty strong if you know how to do it, and having a chance to get some Wakfu points back is always nice. The raised stasis has a pretty good range. It's the cheapest one, but you can only use it about once or twice a target. Okay, 2 uses per target. And it uses 1 action point and 1 movement point. So yeah, just another basic line spell and a line. Very cheap to cast, so it can help add up some damage when you have some AP and movement points left over. And Stasis Shot is a very special one. It has one of the longest ranges at 6 tiles, and it actually doesn't need a line of sight. So the only thing is that you can't cast it up to like your first 2 tiles close to you, I think. 1 to 2 tiles or so. I believe it's that. Excuse me, I adjust the dumb headset I have to get used to again. My pilot headset. So yeah, it's very It's not too strong, but it's very cheap at 3 AP, and being able to not have a line of sight can be nice, so you kind of shoot your little fancy stasis gun, which you'll see in a fight, and just, shoot things through and everything. This one's also aligned, but you have a small area of effect. It doesn't really have much range at 4 tiles, and it's also not very strong, but if you need to hit things that are all close together, that can be a good thing to use. And their inneresting has a very wide area effect around you, the most costly at 6 AP and 1 Wakfu point. It's just pretty much, I guess, they're supposed to be the strongest ultimate stasis strike or stasis spell, and you use it all around you, and you stasify them even more. So going out with the earth ones, which are more like tanky, I guess, instead of damage for the most part. Pummel is a somewhat expensive first earth spell at 4 AP. It's not very strong, I don't think, compared to other ones. And you can also create a blockade of up to 9 hit points at my current level. Of course, it increases as it levels up. It has a somewhat decent range at 1 to 4, and it's not in line, because of course only the fire and stasis are mostly in line. Stomp I've used quite a lot, because it only costs 2 movement points, and seems to be fairly strong for its level, but it could be because it's just vastly outlevels this, so in a way it's actually very weak. But since it costs 2 movement points, you can use up all of your AP and then save the stomp to create a blockade or to do a little bit of extra damage. Hammerclaw is an interesting one. It has some decent range, doesn't need a line of sight, and it's kind of costly at 5 AP, but it can also create a blockade as all the earth spells can. And it also attracts the enemy by 1 cell, so it kind of goes with the tanky kind of line of robotic work, I guess. And Shebang, for some reason it's not the last one, but that's their strongest earth spell. It doesn't really do anything else, it's just very strong with damage, area of effect around you. 6 AP, 1 Wakfu point, not much else to say about it. And Bombardment is a very interesting kind of spell. It's very weak on its own, but it's very cheap at 3 AP, but the more you cast it up to 3 times, you hit more with the casting of it the more you've casted it. So for example, if I were to cast it once, I would hit them once, but then I can cast it on a blockade. It was also create a blockade, but then the next turn I use it on an enemy, it'll hit, I think, 3 times in a row. So you can really stack them up and smack your enemy in the face a couple times, but it is kind of weak still. But in any case, it can also use, make a whole bunch of blockades around. So for fire spells, this one is very cheap at 3 AP, not too strong, and with the fire branch, you add up to high pressure to your character, which increases the fire damage you do as long as you get into the condition of overheating. Because any high pressure you do on the original turn turns into overheating at the end of the turn, and then that following turn you'll have, I think the overheating will stay, or you start to cool down, which reduces your fire damage. So fire can be pretty strong once you stack up the high pressure with the overheating, but then it's going to have a backlash a little bit with the cooling down. Anyway, this has a 3 line and it doesn't need a line of sight, so you could, rearrange it however you wish. It'll be easier once I can actually show it to you. Fire Thrower is one of the widest range, I think, fire spells it has. You originally cast it in a line, but then it explodes into a very wide cone, so you can kind of see why it's a very costly spell, because it's also fairly powerful and also gives you a lot of high pressure. Blazing Fire is the cheapest one. It has 2 uses per turn, not per target, just per turn. And it has 2 AP, 1 movement point, has not too much range at 1 to 3, but it's not in a straight line. I think it goes in up to 3 tiles around you. Adds a little bit of high pressure, and it takes away, it's not too strong, but it's not ridiculously weak either. But what's cool about it is that if you're not in a line and enemies are getting kind of close to you, at least in those 3 tiles, it has 1 rebound of minus 15%. So it has a little bit of reduced damage, but you can hit enemies close to you because it bounces. Steam Palm is probably kind of the most ridiculous thing, and it'll most likely be changed if I heard right, and the class is going to get changed. It's kind of like how the Unitrough was changed with their fire spell. Because Steam Palm is kind of high cost at 5 AP, but it also doesn't need a line of sight. It's very strong with damage and also adds a lot of high pressure, and the way it works is that you can have a huge area of effect and do a whole bunch of damage to a bunch of enemies, and yeah, it can get pretty ridiculous. So I think I take a break and take a fight around here, but their specializations, one part takes a lot of skill points. I tried to level them as much as possible, but I just could not take the grind anymore. So I just want to show you at least that with the dummy room before I move on. So since I do one specialization, I might as well just talk about the rest of them. So what's special about them is that they can summon microbots. Microbots don't really do much on their own, and the more you upgrade it, the longer their rail length will become, and the more charges they have. You can only use it 2 times per turn regardless, so you can only summon 2 at a time. And of course, the more you level it, the less it'll cost. Right now, mine's up to 3. You can reduce it up to 2, and also increase its range from 1 to 3 tiles away. So yeah, they're not too useful on their own yet, but it's a very good starter for what else they do. Like, to play it this way, you have to put in a lot of points into it. So I'm not sure I can recommend it, but it's very interesting at the very least. So yeah, the microbots are very crucial to the motherfogger. You pretty much turn into a giant mobilized weapon of destruction, or motorized, excuse me. But I guess you can be mobilized a little bit too. So for this to work, you have to, well, first you get like a bonus to resist, you get more stasis damage if at least 2 of the resistances match, but your spells change a little bit, and your stasis spells don't need to be cast in a straight line. So stuff changes, but I think you get more powerful, more resist. You also reduce your mobility a little bit because you rely on your microbots and your rails. So yeah, they have a fire breather, which is like 2 AP for 1 target, 6 per turn if you have that much AP. It doesn't need a line of sight. So you have to remember all of the new spells. It absorbs. It can also create a blockade for the rock thrower. So you can also release a Spittleborg, I guess, identical to the microbot spell with a range bonus of 3, so you can place them even farther away to keep your microbot going for your motherfogger. And repositioning, the motherfogger's next movement along the rails will only cost 1 movement point, regardless of how far it travels. I don't really think you have to activate it, and I think it's just how it works on its own. I believe I tried it real quick, and that's how it goes. So one thing about the microbots is that awesome, you have this death stuff out, you have all these allies, you have your microbots, you have your rails up, you got your death machine out, all's good, but if you get hit, the charges go down, and even if they don't get hit, the charges, they go down. They have like a set hit points of like about 4 or 5 or so, which is their charges. Okay, it goes up to 4, but if they get hit, they only take 1 hit point of damage, but still, if they can get hit multiple times, like say for an eye up with their air spells, if they get hit multiple times, it's still going to most likely get rid of them. They can hit 4 times. So to keep those microbots of yours still in working condition, and if granted you have the control, because you're going to need the control to summon 2 microbots and then have a Cybot out, because these things can actually repair and help you with your microbots. So it doesn't really have too much hit points, so it can be taken out, but the good news is it can be cheap as you level it up to, and you can lower the cost up to 1. You can give it a lot more AP to do stuff, more movement points, and its own Wakfu points, and it even gets more skills as you level it up. So if you level up to max, it can teleport to a cell that's 2 cells from a microbot. It can summon a microbot for you. It can repair 1 charge to a microbot, but it can only use it 3 times per turn, even though it's cheap at 1 AP. It can stasify a target to kind of attack them, but not for much damage, I believe. And you can also retreat, switch places with the target to help, I guess, plan things out. So yes, I'm going to show that once I get finished with this. Sorry, I keep losing my spot. It's a lot to explain once I haven't played in a month or so. Yeah. Anyway, the Foggernaut, as you can tell what this reference is from. Very cheap at 1 Wakfu point, regardless of the level. If you level it up, you get more damage bonuses, and you can get a percentage of water damage transformed into earth damage per level, maxed at 150%. You get minus 1 AP to stasis spells. You get stasis. Okay. So the backlash to this powerful spell is that first you get ultra powerful for 1 turn, but if you remain in this form or you use it the 2nd time in a row, you'll get rid of all of your Wakfu points. So you really don't want to use this 2 times in a row if you can help it. Other than that, if you think you're confident you're stasifying to try and steal a Wakfu point, I guess, But yeah, you also suffer stasis damage for every spell cast, so you're also hurting yourself every time you cast something in this. And you also have 100% chance of cooling converting into, I'm pretty sure, yeah, converting into overheating, so you don't have to worry about your fire spells being less powerful, but you still gotta make sure you don't use it too much in a row, or not even twice in a row. But you can't no longer place blockade, you can't use a weapon, must be cast at the start of the turn, so you can't move, you can't do anything first, you have to do this first if you want to use it. And it says here, if you use it 2 times in a row, consumes all Wakfu points, so I guess this is like almost a last ditch kind of thing, but it's mostly for fire and stasis. You get also minus range for earth, no more tanky effects, so stuff like that. It's probably easier to do than all this microbot stuff, but you know. Anyway, here's one called Stasis Flux. Uses his stasis expertise to absorb pain on behalf of an ally. So here's where you can start being tanky. So I guess you cast this, and you can max it up to, of course, 9. And once you cast it, you can suffer 100% of the damage sustained within 2 cells redirected to the Foggernaut. So if you cast this on an ally, costs 1 additional Wakfu point. So that's weird. I'm not quite sure how that makes much sense. So if you cast it on an ally, I guess it will cost 1 Wakfu point as well, but I don't really know how you can use it on yourself, because if you get hurt, you can't really... Well, that's not really explained very well, is it? Sorry about that. I thought that wasn't very confusing, but now that I read it, it's kind of confusing. And it can't be used on a target twice in a row on the same target, and it can't be an enemy, so... So, it's 100% of damage sustained within 2 cells redirected to the Foggernaut. So, okay. Oh, alright. So you cast it on yourself, and if an ally is within 2 cells, all the damage that they would receive is redirected to you. There we go. Okay, now it's making sense. But if you cast it on an ally, which I guess they would protect you instead, it costs, oh no, it still does the same thing. But yeah, for some reason you would cast it on ally. I'm just dumb with no strategy, I suppose. Anyway, moving on. This is probably getting too long already. Also, another thing to get you kind of tanky is armor plating. You increase your resistance and number of charges? Really? It doesn't really say. I don't think so. Well, either way, if you max this out, or you can see the bonuses you receive, you get more luck. You get 20% to your weakest resist. You get 40 resist, extra 40% resist under cooling, but you get negative resist when you're overheating. So it can kind of be helpful or not so helpful with your fire spells. It kind of depends how you can plan out your turns, I suppose. Excuse me. And earth spells increase lock by 10 per AP use for 1 turn. So that's also how you can help your allies out by keeping enemies close to you just because you're using earth spells. And it's for every AP you use, so lock by 10 per AP use, so it'll be increasing lock by 50 just by using the hammer claw to get them closer to you, I believe. And also, once you get the armor plating, you can't use, your blockades will not protect you anymore, because it says blockades absorb 50% of the damage sustained by adjacent allies, except for Foggernauts. Except the Foggernaut. So I'm not sure if that means you're not under the effect anymore, or if you have any ally Foggernauts, that won't work for them. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to try it because I was upgrading all the microbots, which take a lot of points to do, just to get them cheap enough so I can show you. Anyway, Groove is another skill, specialization skill that's kind of essential to all the microbots. So as you increase it, you get more dodges, I guess it's something, but it gives you additional charges, which is more health for your things. It gives you more control, so you can summon more things, and also gives you more rail size, so you can dart around it. Critical Turbo is in one of the other passives. When Wakfu points are used, your next turn you'll get more critical hits, more dodge, and more lock, and it increases in power the more you upgrade it. So that's a pretty sweet passive, as you use Wakfu points and you just get bonus stuff. And you get a Stasis shield. Put your mastery into Stasis energy for good use, creating a shield that is strengthened by his allies, but also closely linked to their own health. So you get a hit point boost for your Foggernaut for 400% on the level, and an additional 160% of the level per ally. So it kind of reminds you of the Sacrier, but at all times they'll receive a percentage of damage received by their allies. So you get more health, but you're also going to be getting damaged a lot more often just because anyone else is getting damaged. So that's kind of risky sometimes. And this is the spell that helps out all of your fire damage, fire and oil. You get +2 range to all fire spells. If a fire spell enters a target over 5 cells array, you get +4 levels of high pressure. So that's probably where Fire Thrower and Steam Palm come in handy. Oh, I think I forgot one. Yeah, I forgot Flame Fervor. Now that I remember that. Sorry about that. So Flame Fervor is their Wakfu point, move at 4 AP and 1 Wakfu point. It says it only has a range of 1, but it's because the main target cell is right in front of you, and then you kind of use your jetpack and go right behind them. So you can use that to get out of sticky situations, do some fire damage, and convert it to high pressure to help you out. So yeah, I wish I didn't forget that. I'm kind of retarded right now. My apologies again. So yeah, you also get +4 level of high pressure per AP used, and it's also for the 5 levels cells away. Alright, so let's finally show you what I'm talking about with these microbots. Hopefully I can explain it to the best of my ability. I tried leveling up as much as possible. So yeah. So I'm going to put them here. I'm going to put them here. And this is the rail that forms. You can also move between them for just 1 movement point. So very handy. I can't really do much right now. So just going to skip my turn. See, they also lose the charge once the turn ends, so just be wary of that. Oh, I have to stand on top of that, okay. So yeah, important note, you have to stand on top of where your microbot is to use your motherfogger ability, which you cast on yourself. And they're very happy about their death machine. So you can use repositioning. Yeah, it takes 1 movement point regardless, so I don't really see the point. You can use a whole bunch of skills like in a not line anymore. So you can use... I should have probably showed the skills in a line, but I'll probably show it afterwards. So here's all your new spells that you can do. You can use that to create a blockade. You can use this, which is a cheap 2 AP, and you get a lot more range, but you can't use much close to you. And the Ray of Stasis, as I said, is a line only, but now it isn't, so it's a very powerful stasis spell you can use after that. You can also choose to dismantle the motherfogger if you don't want to use it anymore, but you can still use the sliding movement benefits if you so choose. So yeah, since I can do that, I'll just show the first one, and I'll just show them in the lines of the range. So Heart of Steam, line. Ray of Stasis, another line. Stasis Shock, you can see I can shoot behind them because no line of sight. Stasis Strike, that in the area of effect. And this one, all around me. So now you can see that a lot of things are in a restricting line. So the Flambe has the area of effect. Fire Throw has a big giant cone. And also the original line you shoot from. Then you have the Blazing Fire, which is the one that bounces. You have the Steam Palm, which is in a very specific diamond shape, but also has a huge area effect and is very strong. So it's quite good. And Flame Fervor with the jetpack. So you can cast it even if there's no enemy there, I believe, but you just won't be doing any damage. So it would hurt the enemy that would be right in front of me if there was one there, but since there isn't, you know, it doesn't really matter. So I'm just gonna pummel this scarecrow. Alright, so I think I explained what I can possibly explain, so let's just go apply it to a fight some more so you can actually see it in a fight instead of me just one-shotting the poor scarecrow over and over, because I'm not sure how good that works. Alright, I'm back. Let's just see how this goes. I just have my little sidekick with me just in case I get a little too dumb. So I showed you how the motherfogger works. I don't really think I need to show too much more. Unless I really want to make it work here, but they'll probably kill my robots by the time they get to me. Actually, as long as he's there, he can distract them for me while I get set up. But I'm not here to do that. I'm here to show you the other ones, right? Okay, so Steam Palm. That's where you get the ginormous range, but unfortunately I'm just a 1 short. I want to use Steam Palm if I want to get at least 2. Massive damage. And I just need to move 1 more for the cheap Ray of Stasis. And I have 1 more movement point just to move away. So yeah, the very cheap cost makes it very nice. Although now they're reducing my range with chucking sand in my face. I don't like them. And it healed me, but it electrocuted me too. Ow. Well, they reduced my range, but I can at least still use Heart of Steam. It's reduced range by a lot, but it should still do quite a bit. I almost got him. So, okay, so I'll use Ray of Stasis to finish him off. Then I'll use Stomp to create a blockade, which uses the rest of my movement points. You can see I'm in like cooling mode now because of the fire spells I did. So I just have him hang tight there until I need him if I have to. Alright, so what else can I do? I can use Hammer Claw even though it's right there because no line of sight. And since it moves them, they'll take X or not. Sometimes it positions them weirdly, I forget. So I'll use that and then Stomp them. That's usually one of my favorite combos to use because it's so cheap and damaging to use. Skip. Alright, so I might want to use... Alright, so yeah, I will use this to get out of there. Then I will use Blazing Fire to bounce it between them. And it worked, thankfully. And I'm not sure if it'll work over there. Because I think right now the blockades only help me. You can just turn around, I guess, to... Yeah, see, they took some hits for me, so I'll either take a partial blow with the blockades, or they'll take all of it and disappear. Alright, so what have I? I can't use that, that's too close, can't use that. I can use this, just to show off the most expensive earth spell, because why not? Make another blockade. Unfortunately, even if you have enough movement points, you can't use Stomp twice in one turn. So yeah, it does help you survive quite a bit. Use Hammer Claw, I use Stomp, I used Pummel before, it's just a basic claw. Okay, so I'll show you a bit of Bombardment. I'll use this to create 2 blockades first. I guess. Yeah. And I'll just Stomp them. And skip. Come on. There we go. So yeah, since I had a surviving blockade, the rest of it actually took even more damage before disappearing, but I still did take damage, so I don't think they ever completely can protect you, but they do take, help you take significantly less sometimes. So since I did 2 blockades with these, I should be hitting it multiple times by now if I use it on an enemy. Yeah, there we go. I think it's reset though now. I don't think I hit any more now. Nope, I hit even more. So yeah, you can hit a lot of times. So I don't think there's too much more I have to show. Let me just plan another one to be nice, because I don't think they're very high around here. Even when not playing Wakfu much anymore, I can't help but do it, as long as I'm able to. That's only a 1. I'll try to make it last. Now if you just stay in a line all good like that, okay, that should work. Remember, I didn't use Flambe or Fire Thrower, I'll use that so you can see the cone. Yeah, strong stuff. Use that just because I like to use it. Okay, now I'll use Flambe with its area of effect. You can use it twice because it's good. Don't really have much overheating right now. I don't like your sandcastle. I feel like a bully on the beach. Alright, what else haven't I done? I don't think... Yeah, I haven't done that. Stasis Strike. You can see it. Blazing Fire is no point in using it. I'm trying to make it last, so I'm not going to kill it yet. It's going to run over there, isn't it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to do. Alright, what else can I do? I can't do that because it's... Well, I think I can if I just move. I can shoot behind these. And I can use it twice if I want to because it's cheap enough. And I'm just going to start moving this way because it'll probably run to the sandcastle. If it doesn't, I'd be surprised. Oh, the odd thing I noticed is that sometimes I think stasifying your targets will randomly make them lose range or sometimes take a little bit of extra damage. I don't know why. It never says that it does that. So I did I think I did pretty much everything. Did hammer claw, I did stomp, I did... yeah. I just didn't do that, which is... yeah, that's pretty much it. So I guess that's what I'll do last. Kind of obnoxious gas leak going on here, I suppose. So I think that's about everything. I showed more of the abilities than I usually do because I think they're easy to use. So let's find the right window. And it's kind of hard to recommend what to get for them, but I'll try what I can. Since I wasn't sure whether to make them tanky or I just made them tanky for the sake of grinding them up as good as possible, I added hit points and regeneration. You might want resistances because it goes really well with the motherfogger. You know, upgrades because you get resistances from it. Also, I'm not sure if I've mentioned it, but you can't see it well from the Scarecrow one, but you can, using the motherfogger, you actually get increased range a little bit also. So other than no more lines with your stasis spells and some fire spells, that can be pretty handy. And also moving back and forth, at least for a little bit. So yeah, I got hit points and regeneration, but of course it's up to you. Hit points are always good for anyone. And resistances and regeneration are good for surviving, and since they can go tanky, it's very helpful. As far as damages go, since if you intend to use the stasis spells at all, anything will be good. But, you know, if you're going to be using earth or fire, you can also just upgrade those and it'll eventually add to your stasis damage and anything. And none of your equipment will really be a waste because if there's an element you don't use, it's still going to count towards your stasis damage. So it's usually pretty easy. Although the thing to keep in mind is the bonus damage if they match some of your resistances, so you might want to maybe put your resistances around or something like that, or maybe plan ahead with that if that's how it works. At the moment I just have mostly 2. I might, like if I continue to, I might put at least 1 in everything, so at least all my resistances aren't bad. I'm not quite sure, it will take a lot of points, and of course I wouldn't be able to upgrade attack. And for this, I put initiative because initiative is always nice, I guess at least if you intend to PvP, or just going low, not going dead last with monsters and such. But since they can also be tanky, as I said, lock can be helpful, and dodge might be helpful, but that fire spell that jetpacks you behind the enemy, that can get you pretty, that can get you out of tough spots because it uses it on the enemy directly in front of you and you dash right through them. So that can help quite a bit, so I don't really think it's always necessary. But it does cost a Wakfu point, so I guess it can help if you don't want to spend the Wakfu points. And now for this, I guess it depends what you want to go for as usual. You can get critical hit resistance if you don't want to get hit much, or resistance from behind for being tanky, resistance from behind or whatever as well. I think I said that already. Yeah, I did. Oops. You can also get block to have a higher chance of reducing damage by 30%, or you can just get critical hits and critical damage and go all damagey. Now as for the major one, I got movement points first because so many skills use movement points, so I don't run out of movement points using a couple skills, and I really like it so far. I mean, it would have been nice if I got like the gobble set and got 8 AP to use, but so far I like it with the movement points because, like I said, I can use stomp and still move away for 2 if I want to, or use a couple of the stasis strike with the 1 movement point and 1 action point. So I think that works out pretty nicely. So yeah, I think I covered everything. Again, I apologize for the delay. Hopefully I can just get my butt going and finish these off, especially with the changes that have been happening and such. And yeah, sorry if I forgot something, and I guess see you later. Anyway guys, bye!